Hey folks, Kyle Brown with Carl's Zeiss Sport Optics, and we're here today to introduce you to the pinnacle of optical performance, the ZEISS all-new V8 NA series. V8, 8x zoom ratio, NA stands for North America configuration, 2.8 to 20 by 56 millimeter, and a 4.8 to 35 power by 60 millimeter objective. And today I also want to introduce you to Allan Rovig of McWhorter Custom Rifles.
It's good to be here today, but it's even better that these two fine scopes are finally here. But we've been waiting on these for a long time.
Yeah, Allan, it's been about 1.5 years that you and I have been talking and discussing and trying to get these products to be ready for this hunting season.
Absolutely. Fall's right around the corner. As soon as we can get these on some MCR guns, I'll be ready to go.
McWhorter Custom Rifles.
That's absolutely right.
Allan, we've created these two rifle scopes with your help and your consultation. Tell us why we landed on these two configurations.
Well, in my opinion, this 2.8 to 20 by 56 is probably the most appropriate for most North American game hunting. 20 power gives you the ability to shoot at short range, gives you the ability to shoot at long range, and in my opinion, it's just the optimal power. Some people are going to want higher power. We get a lot of older customers that really want to zoom up. They don't want to carry a spotting scope around with them, so they'll use this scope here, this 35 power, to double as a spotting scope. And it brings things up closer. They feel more at home shooting a higher power rifle scope.
So like what you said about the higher end of the magnification. So the 20X, that's going to take care of your long range shooting scenarios and long range hunting scenarios. But 2.8, tell me where that comes into play.
Oh, close range, dangerous game. You're walking through the woods and something jumps up and 20 yards from you and stands there. You've got your scope turned down to 2.8 power. You easily make a shot even as close as 20 yards.
Fair enough. And so you talked about the high-end magnification of 35X on this model, but the low end is 4.8. Where's that handy at?
Oh, throughout the whole spectrum. I mean, if I'm going to hunt deer here in Georgia, I'm going to have this on 4.8 or maybe somewhere in the middle. And then depending on where my target, I can quickly make an adjustment down to 4.8 or up to 35. If I have something that I haven't identified completely that steps out there at 800, 35 is going to be pretty handy under that circumstance.
Okay, but then you also do quite a bit of hunting in the Midwest and Western territories as well.
And flat and long range is the norm there. So if I'm hunting antelope out there and I want to see just how good a goat is, 35 power is going to help me out a whole lot.
Okay. So let's talk about light transmission.
One of the most important things, in my opinion, of any true hunting scope. You know, a lot of scopes have 87, 88% light transmission. These have a full 92% light transmission. And from 88 to 92, that extra 4%, that's probably 15 extra minutes early in the morning or late in the evening. And if you've hunted things in the Midwest before, or in the South especially, that's prime times. And that's when you want to have the best optical performance you can. 92% gives it to you.
And as we're talking about the light transmission, our tagline on these rifle scopes is the pinnacle of optical performance. So you've had a chance to look through these rifle scopes quite a bit. You've been on the design and development phase with us. What do you think about the optical performance?
Well, the light transmission, of course, is one of the most important aspects to me, but the edge-to-edge clarity, the color correctness, everything that's provided by the shot glass, the Lototech coatings, the fluoride lenses, it makes this optical performance better than any I've ever seen.
Okay, and with that, you've had a chance to look over quite a few optics over the years. How long have you been at this?
I've been in the rifle business, custom rifle business, for 18 years, and I started out hunting 45 years ago with some less than stellar optics, let's just say.
Didn't we all?
Absolutely. So this is like night and day. This is rocket ship versus horse and buggy.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So the pinnacle of optical performance, you feel like we're delivering on that front?
You're there. I can't wait. Fall is just a couple of short weeks away. I'm going to have both these scopes on my MCRs this year and can't wait to, and there's going to be a lot of animals that are in trouble.
Okay. And as we're looking through that scope, not only enjoying the image quality itself, but you notice the new reticle, the new ZEISS AHR reticle, Advanced Hunting Reticle.
Absolutely. It's an MOA reticle, got 10 minutes on either side of the center crosshair, 10 minutes below, and that pretty much is going to provide you to be able to hold wind, which we recommend instead of dialing wind. It's going to allow you to hold wind in pretty much all ethical shot distances, for sure.
Yes, sir. And you mentioned 10 minutes left of center, 10 minutes right, and 10 minutes of drop. but those are in 1 MOA increments.
1 MOA, absolutely. So holding your wind, if your ballistic calculator tells you to hold 3 minutes left or right, they're easily seen, and you hold your wind instead of dial, and it's just a quick shooting solution.
Fair enough. And the reticle subtensions are accurate on the Riflescope's maximum magnification.
That's right.
So on the 2.8 to 20, that'd be at 20
power.
On the 4.8 to 35, it's at 35 power.
Their second focal plane, which I really like for a hunting scope, and my thought process behind that is, especially with 20 power, I'm sitting in a blind, or I'm out in the field, or I'm spotting stalk. I might keep that on 20 power, so anything 100 yards and in, I'm going to shoot on 20 power anyway. If I have to turn it down, even though the stadia lines don't maintain their integrity of 1 minute, I'm not going to hold wind under 100 yards anyway. So these are perfect hunting scopes, in my opinion.
And that's good news for us and good news for you and your clients.
And bad news for the animals.
Bad news for the animals, well said. So I think one of the other things we wanted to share about this reticle is not only the 10 minutes left and right of center and the 10 minutes of drop, but also the illumination quality that you see in these particular reticles.
Oh, these are magnificent. I'm used to scopes, and when you turn the illumination way up, you get an irregular blob on the center crosshair. It's usually way too big to accommodate aim small, miss pulse principles. These are 0.12 MOA, and that is smaller than a 17 caliber bullet hole. So you can put these with pinpoint accuracy exactly where you want on your target.
That's right. And so the digital illumination is a ultra fine center dot. It's fiber optic illuminated, cut at a perfect 45, so you get a perfectly round illuminated dot, which is what you've experienced and what you just shared.
Absolutely. And further to that, it's got a battery saving option. So if they're vertical, up or down, or if they're turned on their side, left or right, it cuts it off automatically and saves your battery.
Yes, sir. It's a battery saver, and it's angle and time sensor. So angled, if the rifle or rifle scope is turned on its left side or right side, it's automatically turned off. Before you can get it back up to the shooter's position, it's already on. And whether it's aiming down at the ground or barrel slung over your shoulder, your rifle slung over your shoulder, it's already off. Before you get it back to the shooting position, it's already on again. And then after a couple of hours of inactivity, it'll shut itself off.
That is a well thought out feature. And I've had illuminated scopes before and turned them on, forgot to turn them back off, and 2 hours later, when it comes prime time, you don't have a battery to make a shot with. So
when you need it most.
That's a great feature.
Yes, sir. I like one of the things you shared with us earlier, Allan, when we were talking offline. You'd said that you planned on using some illumination during daylight hours.
Absolutely. If you're hunting in close quarters in dark timber, or you got a real overcast day, just a regular reticle with no illumination is no good. And to see it in the daytime, you've got to turn it way up. And that's where before some of them have gotten misshapen and way too large, and they really just interfere with your mind's eye, if you will.
And I agree with you, Allan. I think that that type of illumination really comes in handy when you're hunting at distance and you have an overcast day, perhaps a gloomy day, dreary day. You're hunting for dark animals such as moose or black bear,
right,
or deer that are even wet, and they're hidden in those shadows of those timber lines.
Oh.
All of a sudden, you have a high contrast point of aim that's very pinpoint
precise
in its
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the best features of this scope, in my opinion.
Good deal. I'm glad you appreciate it. So, Allan, you and I talk a little bit about long range shooting, long range, how that transforms over into long range hunting. When it comes to hunting, do you typically like to hold for your shots for elevation, or do you typically like to dial?
In our shooting school, we typically teach to dial elevation and hold windage.
And you teach the dial because if it's that type of shot, you actually have some time to make the shot?
Just a little more precise. You've got quarter-minute clicks on your elevation. You've got minute lines in your reticle, so you can click to within a quarter inch. So that's a little more precise. Your windage being capped, that's very important to me because I've had windage caps before that actually got moved while you were hunting. But the capped windage in the 10 MOA, when you get in the reticle, your wind may change. Maybe it's 2 miles an hour, and before you get your shot, it's 4 miles an hour. So you can make your adjustment in the reticle when never lifting your head up to turn your windage.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So as we were talking about the turrets, I'll go ahead and segue into each click adjustment is 1/4 MOA.
1/4 MOA.
And you have 20 minutes per revolution. And we have, depending on which scope, you will have 72 minutes of adjustment in the 2.8 to 20 power, and you have 48 minutes of adjustment in the 4.8 to 35 power. And when we get those mounted, you're going to share with us what the actual in real world results are.
Oh, absolutely. We put these on a 20 MOA Picatinny rail, used the ZEISS low rings. So even with the 56, we still had plenty enough room to put them on there with the low rings. And when this was sighted in at 200 yards, that gun right there had 42 more minutes of travel. And with that ballistic profile, that's going to take this gun out to 1,400 yards, which is well beyond most ethical animal shot distances. The big scope here, same thing, 200 yard zero, 20 MOA rail, 34 millimeter low ZEISS rings. When this one was zeroed and everything was said and done, had 38 minutes left. This is a little faster ballistic profile, so it still takes this one out to 1,300 yards. Again, well beyond most ethical shots on an animal.
Fair enough. And if we go back to the turret, I think one of the things you really liked about the turret was it had a very positive ballistic stop.
Yeah, and very audible clicks.
Yeah,
both of those are very important in the field.
Yes, audible clicks, very precise. And I think you did a tall target tracking test. You want to tell us how that turned out?
Both of these, the day that I got these, we put them on our jig, and we've got a correction factor jig that we use, and both of these scopes track to 0.9934, which is well under 1%. Anything under 1% in a scope is exceptional performance. And that's what we were looking for. And these came out on top of the heap.
Well, that's a powerful testimony to the tracking performance of this scope. You have a tracking error of less than 1%.
People don't realize that. I mean, if you got a 3% error at 1,000 yards, that's considerable. That's considerable, and it's something that you got to allow for in your ballistic solver. If you don't, your solutions, no matter how well you read the wind, how well everything's ranged, your solution is not going to put your bullet where it's supposed to go without a correction factor.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So one of my favorite features on this scope is the turret system, and particularly the ballistic stop on this.
Yeah, you've complimented us on that several times. I think you like the usefulness of it, the simplicity of it, and the ruggedness of it.
Yeah, keep it simple, stupid. That's good for people like me.
And me.
This scope is, this turret has got 2 screws. Take this off. It's got 2 screws on your ballistic stop, and it's got pretty much a flat head on the top where you can make your adjustment without having to leave yourself room to go left or right. Once you get it where you want it to go, you put your ballistic stop back on, tighten 2 screws, put this back on, tighten 2 screws, set it to 0, and you're ready to go. You got to decide it in at 100 or 200 or whatever you decide to do.
Yeah, correct. You're indexed and ready to go. And so on the ballistic stop, I think when you come back to 0, what do you think about that?
Oh, it's just a hard, positive stop, and that's what you want. The clicks going forward, they're all very positive as well, and that's also a great feature that you don't see on every last scope.
That's right. So Allan, we've discussed the turret adjustments, but let's talk about 2 adjustments that people really have a hard time with, or I see that they struggle in the field with. One is called the diopter adjustment for the eyepiece, and the other one is the parallax adjustment. And people don't realize just how much in harmony they have to work together, but you have to set the diopter first and set it properly in order to get the benefit of the parallax adjustment.
Always. That's what we teach in our shooting school. When we change shooters, the first thing you'll do, get down behind the gun, look at the clear blue sky, and adjust this until your reticle is completely clear to you against that blue sky. Pull your eye away to account for eye fatigue. Look back in there, because that's what you're going to be doing when you're hunting. And if that's good, then you're done on the rear end of the scope. The guys that you see cranking on the diopter right before they're shooting a deer, they've not been showed the right way to do things. But that's set. Then you got your parallax. Depending on what distance you target, you're going to focus this. You're going to do a little non-test to make sure your crosshairs is not going to jump on the target. Then you're parallax free.
Okay, so in order to get the benefit of true parallax freedom, you have to get your diopter set first to get that super clean, crisp reticle.
Absolutely. If this is not set right, no matter how you crank on the parallax, you're not going to get parallax free, and you're not going to get a clear image on your target.
All right, how do you feel like these ZEISS V8 NA adjustments are working for you?
Oh, they're great. I like the rubber ring on this outside. It keeps you from accidentally grasping the Illumination, the battery cap here. It's easy, it's very smooth, and it's got your guide numbers on here. It's got your 50 on one end and your infinity on the other end, which we all know that those are just guide numbers. It's got to stop at 100. This one's got to stop at 300. That one's got to stop at 100. So it gives you a good marking if you're in a dark blind and you don't.
Good point of reference.
You can't see them. Yeah.
Fair enough. So Allan, one of the things I noticed people really struggle with is the term parallax and focus, but this really is called a side parallax adjustment. The benefit is a sharper focus. But what are we trying to get rid of when we say parallax adjustment? We're trying to get to parallax freedom.
Parallax, you get your reticle plane and your image plane in exact alignment. Before you do that, if they're out of alignment, then when you get in your scope and you move your head up and down, we do what we call the nod test, or left or right. Those crosshairs will shift on your target. And the reason that's important is because no matter how much you've shot, nobody's ever going to get the exact same eye position. And if you're not parallax free, when you go, if you shoot up here and your reticle moves up, or you shoot down here and your reticle is low, then you're not going to have the intended point of impact.
Okay, fair enough. But now that we talked about the ocular or the diopter adjustment and the parallax adjustment, once you have all that adjusted, before you start your manipulation of your parallax for longer distance, tell me about the Eyebox that you've noticed in this rifle scope.
Oh, they're very super generous. So with the stocks that we have and a properly positioned scope here, as soon as you put your head down on the stock, you've got a whole lot of leeway to go back or forward to where you're comfortable on the stock. So the Eyeboxes on these, the V8, this 20 power right here is probably the most generous Eyebox that I've seen in the industry.
And you've looked through a lot of scopes.
I've looked through a lot of scopes.
All right, fair enough.
So have you.
So you shared a tip and trick with me earlier that you used as a gauge to help us figure out when you first install the rifle scope, when you set the diopter to neutral adjustment, where does this eyepiece actually need to be in relationship to the shooter?
Our experience on stocks that are standard length of pull, 13.5, 13.75 is once your diopter is adjusted for your eye, then from the back of the ocular lens to the butt pad there is about 10.5 inches.
That's a really good.
We send out a lot of rifles week after week after week, and we've never had somebody tell us that we had to readjust their scope, because 10.5 inches from there to the butt pad is pretty much the norm for everybody.
I thought that was a tremendous tip that you shared with me, because I've mounted a lot of rifle scopes over the years, and that back and forth, trial and error, it gets very aggravating. What you just shared with me by going over that, and you shared it with our audience here, I think it's going to save us a lot of time as we set up our own rifle scope.
Saves us a lot of money from having to ship things back and forth when we don't get them in the right position. So we've learned that by necessity over the years. So
we had talked about a friendly eye box that incorporates eye relief. Do you have enough eye relief on these scopes when you turn them up to 20 power and 35 power?
Absolutely. I measured. I had my son measure mine the other day. I was 3.5 inches from it here in the back, and I could move at least a half an inch forward and backwards and still maintained a full circle in my scope.
Full field of view.
At full field of view. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, fair enough. Allan, I think we need to share with our audience the type of accessories that are available for these rifle scopes. Keep in mind, you can get lens covers, you can get rings for mounting, you can get magnification throw levers. A lot of people really like that, especially during the winter months. It allows them to, with the gloves on, change the magnification settings of the rifle scope very easily.
You got the nice neoprene covers for guys that don't want the scope caps.
That's right. You got the soft covers and a few other accessories. If you check us out online, you'll see what we have available. So Allan, we've gone over these scopes and the details and features of them. But again, our tagline is the pinnacle of optical performance. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's not just one thing. It's a combination of things. And these scopes certainly are the pinnacle of optical performance. Between the size of them, the weight of them, the perfectly designed reticle for long-range hunting, in my opinion, parallax, Eyebox, the illumination is a big thing. The pinpoint digital illumination is one of the best aspects of these scopes. But the whole package is just something that I'm going to be completely confident in all circumstances having on my long-range hunting rifle in the future. So, pinnacle of optical performance, I think you guys have done it.
Okay, and then we refer to these as the V8 NA series, NA standing for North America. Have we hit that nail on the head?
Absolutely. You know, MOA, second focal plane, capped windage. I think that's what you're looking for in the North American market.
Sounds good. Allan, I want to thank you again for having us here.
Absolutely.
And be a part
Honored
of
to
the
be
product
here.
introduction. Thanks for helping us with the product launch. It's a big deal to
Absolutely.
us. And you guys are probably wondering, when are we going to see these new rifle scopes in the market? You'll see them in the marketplace before the end of August 2024.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that.
I know you are.